So how do you encourage or cultivate courage in people?
Understanding them first. I've learned that conversation builds relationship, but lecture, not so much. Sometimes we want to inspire people by telling what we do, telling them, oh, you can overcome it, giving them kind of like a lecture. And I realized that it's not that helpful more than having a conversation with them, and understanding what in that particular situation is preventing them from taking courage. Some might say that the most common fear is the fear of failure, but we realize that the fear of failure is actually learned, right? Because as babies, we only have two fears, right? Loud noises and fear of falling, right? So having that conversation to understand, what is the real reason of them not taking a step of courage helps me to understand how I can better encourage them towards taking a step of courage.
Welcome to the Summit series of Voices of Courage Asia, where we celebrate leaders, change makers, and visionaries who embody courage and drive transformative impact. I'm your host for today, and I'm Lillian. This is a special series where we explore stories of resilience, leadership, and the bold step taken to create meaningful change. And today I have a very, very special guest. She's no stranger to us. She's none other than Sarah. Hi, Sarah. How are you today?
Great. I'm doing very well in my pregnancy. For those that do not know. Yes.
Let me introduce Sarah properly. She is, we are joined by a dedicated expert in human resource development, career coaching, and workplace wellness. Sarah is a IHRP senior professional with expertise in talent development, career counseling, and organizational consulting. She's also passionate about unlocking potential, fostering workplace well-being, and equipping professionals with the tools they need to thrive in today's evolving job market. And guess what? She is also a supporting contributor pioneer of Women of Courage Asia. So welcome to the show, and I'm so happy for you. You are very into your pregnancy. Coming, so excited about the arrival, right?
Indeed. Basking in the pregnancy glow.
How has it been like for you so far the past few months?
Okay. Obviously, pregnancy is such a talked about topic, right? Among many. For me personally, it's been a very enlightening and transformative journey. Learning a lot about myself and limitations, I would feel. Yeah. Challenging a lot of previously known notion about yourself, because pregnancy does change you quite a bit. And I think the best part is to really learn, being aware, learning about it, and reconciling with it as well in the process.
Yeah, I totally can resonate with you. How motherhood has totally changed my entire perception and mindset and everything. Yeah, it's an exciting journey. So enjoy the whole process. Yeah. And today we're going to talk about inspiration, courage, transformation, and all that, right? So what does inspiring courage and transformative impact mean to you personally?
For me, inspiring courage for transformative impact, it's about empowering others to believe in their ability to make a difference, right? Despite, any obvious obstacles, uncertainty, or even limitations of ourselves. I think to be able to inspire courage to others to then make that impact, knowing that they can make a difference no matter what they're presented with, even obstacles. It's how I believe to me personally. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to pause. Right. So what inspire you, or rather, sorry, can you share one pivotal moment when courage transformed how you lead or approach challenges?
I'll take a recent event. I think you have shared quite extensively on my background in HR, right? I mean, in HR, we are usually very involved in a lot of people issues, along with corporate issues. And some of these instances can be quite gray, right? And it's that when I decided that as a HR with a voice, I can take incremental steps in my own sphere of influence to make a difference, whichever side that I'm fighting for, right? And to be, I guess, to uphold as much integrity in the decisions that we are about to make, to ensure that both parties, regardless is it employees or company, um, to have somewhat of a fairness now in whatever that we choose. And I think um, so far, because of my courage, have also inspired and influenced the others in the same room to do the same. And I think that has made a difference in the organizations that I've been in. Rather than staying silent, they have also shared their opinions. That could help to steer the management or whatever decisions to be a bit more fairer and with more integrity.
Right. So I think having the courage to speak up, and then especially in your, like you mentioned, in the HR sphere of
Yeah.
influence, I think courage is really required, in those areas. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How you feel
Yeah.
about your opinions and all that. Yeah. Awesome.
Mm.
Now, in terms of leadership, right? What inspired you to step into leadership, the leadership role, and how has this journey influenced others?
It's a very interesting question for me because while I'm quite outspoken, I think to those around me, I actually avoided position of leadership.
Mm,
Like, let me be the vice, let me be the specialist, the one that you seek solutions to and for the vanguard even, right? But don't make me the leader, That's always been my position. But I realized that, it's definitely such a humbling invitation to step into a role of leadership,
mm,
to make decision, to have that influence to the people around you.
mm,
And with that comes with very big responsibility. I know it sounds very cliche, but it does come with a lot of responsibilities. And because of that, it affects the people around you, right? One of the things that I realize is that, you know, uh, sometimes the decisions you make might not turn out the way you think it would be, and therefore affecting the people around you.
mm,
But being very authentic and real about those consequences, enable you to continue in your leadership much further than you would imagine, right? Than to just cover up. Yeah. So that's my journey so far in leadership. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
But I know, you're just being humble in sharing your journey, and but
Yeah.
can you remember, or was it, if I'm hearing it
Mhm.
correct, was it the time where you stepped into the HR industry that inspired you to step into the leadership role, or way before that, you have unconsciously actually stepped into the leadership role naturally, organically, without you realizing it, but on the hindsight now,
Yeah.
yeah, what inspired you to?
I think really what I've said in the previous question, where I really wanted to make a difference,
Mm,
especially when it comes to areas of gray.
right.
Right. That was really as you mentioned, the pivotal point, right?
Yeah.
And it's very much on your values, correct? It's very much on my cat values, and integrity is one of it, right? Which can be quite grey. I think most can agree in many spaces, and especially in corporates, right?
Mm,
And and a lot of times, I guess, many individuals might find that in HR, it's very hard to then work into a leadership position in a way, right? Like with the boards, like with the management. And, and to that, I see as a challenge, an invitation, for me to really step into that space, to earn a chair in the room, to then be able to speak up,
mm,
in these situations, yes. So that itself, right, wanting to inspire, have a voice in the room, so that what we do falls within my values is what made me wanted to step into leadership in my career as HR. And that journey has been really a humbling one
Mm,
because I have to be very excellent in what I do. And, I can't, and I have to learn how to also read and understand how businesses work rather than just talking about like, oh, people, HR, like I have to then learn how do I have that whole ecosystem that is balanced between company benefits, for example, and employee benefits. So
mm.
that was, I hope that has more clarity.
Yeah, yeah. I think that having that
Mm,
desire to like give voice to the area,
mm,
that's very great. I think
mm,
that was a very good point over there. Now let's talk about decisions making.
mm,
Because as leader, or even we are leaders in different sphere of influence, right? Whether we
mm,
like it, actually, we are somewhat a leader in different areas of our lives.
mm,
So, and being a leader, we make decisions, and oftentimes very difficult decisions.
mm.
So can you share a story where you had to make a courageous decision as a leader?
Uh, wow. Yes, I think using the same example in HR, right? Um, it's not it's very difficult to make a decision on an employee, right? When they are much higher in rank, right? And where their action has had an implication to the organization,
Mm,
right? So then you are being faced with a few things, right? Okay, um, obviously, if we look at drama series, right, we'll be like, oh, expose the person and whatever it takes, right? But it's really not that direct when it comes to in larger organizations because you have also the reputation of the organization to protect. Right. So it's not like I can write into a column and this director of this, you can't do that, right? But um yeah, so you want to balance the company's reputation, but of
mm,
course you also need to make sure that the person understand the consequence of his or her actions, and
mm,
also how do you then communicate sending a right message down to other employees of the company who knows about this incident,
mm,
right? So then and then, we had to, these are one of those decisions that is very difficult to make because you don't know what is the best thing to do, what is the righteous thing to do, or what is the moral thing to do, right? Or what is the most profitable thing to do? What if this person can bring in sales, right? So
mm,
one decision that we had to make, or what I did in that particular situation was, um, I still decided to push for the management to terminate the employee,
mm,
despite that the employee has many good points also. I mean, apart from that, I mean, long serving, like I mentioned, it could have many skill sets,
yeah.
would be valuable and everything. But we had to also look at, what is the message that we're sending across and across the company culture.
Mm,
And, but of course, one of the other decisions that we have to make that's difficult for me is that we are not going to expose what was it about,
mm,
right? It should be a amicable mutual termination, and
right.
everything is kind of, handled in the right way, soft, and, so that was the balanced decision that I had to make to the management, and it was accepted, of course, right? With some discussions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Mm.
one of the conversations with
Yeah.
another guest, yeah, we brought up an example of people in the HR. They be having challenge making such decisions, right? Very difficult decisions. Yeah, it requires a lot of courage, and especially for those if you are working closely and directly
Yeah.
with that staff. Well, that would be even more challenging. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kudos to you that you are able to make difficult decisions, right? With the courage that you have. Now, I'm sure you have experiences, in leading people under your in
Mm.
the corporate world, and even in other sphere of influence.
Mm.
Uh, so, how do you encourage or cultivate courage in people or the team that you are leading? Right? How do you cultivate that?
Understanding them first. I've learned that conversation builds relationship, but lecture not so much.
Mm.
You know, sometimes we want to like inspire people by telling what we do, telling them, oh, you can overcome it, giving them kind of like a lecture. And I realized that it's not that helpful more than having a conversation with them,
Mm.
and understanding what in that particular situation is preventing them from taking courage.
Mm.
Some might say that the most common fear is the fear of failure, but we realize that the fear of failure is actually learned, right? Because as babies, we only have two fears, right? Loud noises and fear of falling, right? So having that conversation to understand, what is the real reason of them not taking a step of courage
Mm.
helps me to understand how I can better encourage them towards taking a step of courage, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
It could be anything, right? But conversation to understand before you encourage them to it. Yeah.
Yeah, very good point there. Having conversations and not just surface conversation, but more in depth, deep conversations. Right, understanding their fears, their motivations. Yeah, thank you for sharing that valuable tip. Right, for those of you out there who are thinking, who are leaders and leading a team, or you're having challenges, right, communicating and getting across to your team. I think this is a very valuable tip here. Insights that have conversations, deep conversations, right? Think
Yes.
about what are their motivations, fears, desires, and needs of the people that you are leading. Yeah, thank you for that precious tip over there. Now let's talk about impact and transformation.
Mm.
Okay, we want to create impact. We want to uh, drive change, meaningful change in communities, right? So, what role does courage has to play in driving this social impact?
Wow. Maybe I'll share something more relevant for Asian context, I guess,
Yes, love.
and even in corporates, Asian corporate context.
Okay.
I think coverage is important to drive this impact. What that social impact means is dependent on communities they're in, right?
Mm,
To speak up,
mm,
right? The courage to speak up, the courage to speak up to drive towards transformation or impact. Right? I believe everybody wants to be impactful. We want to have a purpose, be
yes.
it in our jobs or even in our lives. And courage is very essential, right? Because courage is that thing, right, that you take to speak up, right? And I think in this case, courage to speak up. Because in Asian context, we care a lot about hierarchical structures. We have, like age, we also have the power distance at play, especially in workplaces. And that would actually hinder us. But with a little bit of courage, used in the right way, of course, appropriately, to speak up, it will bring much more impact that you can imagine. Yeah.
Mm,
So I believe it's that essential.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
You First thing first is to have the courage to speak up. If you don't even speak up, nobody is going to know your thoughts. What's going on in
Correct.
and how you're going to drive that social change.
Correct. And to
Very
make an impact, essentially, yes.
yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Mm.
Right. And can you share with us an example or highlight an example of a
Mm.
transformative leadership that has inspired you recently?
Recently, in the place, in the client space that I'm working at,
Mhm.
um, they had a change of management. I'm very inspired by the new team that took over because it takes a lot of courage to take up a space where you have no idea what has happened before, but you recognize that it has ran into trouble,
Mm,
right? Yeah, I don't think it's easy for the new team to accept that. I
mhm.
mean, sometimes we all think about, oh, we are getting a promotion, right? But not all promotions are a good one, in a sense, right? But the team that took over, they really had such a mindset to transform the place, understanding what has happened. And, they really had the grit and the courage to speak up, to say that no, we need to do things differently. We need to who and so accountable, and they really put in the hours to have conversations with me to make a difference, as they could, as they become the new team,
Right.
new management team. So I thought that really inspires me a lot because not every new team, number one, wants to take up what the previous team has left behind at short notice. Number two, the courage to speak up and to want to transform the space to be a better space as how they imagine, right? Which sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just want to go into the new position, and then we just like, oh, let's wait and see. Let me be stable first, you know. But no, you know, they come in with such a mentality that I'm given this opportunity. Let me go on it, right? Let me take on it. Maybe I haven't had my networks yet, but let me go at it. Let me work at it. And I thought that was really inspiring for me, especially in what I do. So in a very more specific way, you know, whatever projects that come my way, you know, I will also want to have that mentality, you know,
Yeah.
going all the way, you know, offer my best to all my clients
Yeah.
or people that I work with and not hesitate, you know, for fear of things that might not even happen. Yeah.
I think yeah, you said it very well. Mindset is so critical, right? What kind of
Mm.
mindset and attitude are we entering into a
Mm.
new space, right? A new industry, a new practice,
Position.
something
Yeah.
new, right? Stepping into something new. Yeah. So
Mm.
what kind of mindset do we bring along? I think that's
True.
very, very powerful. Yeah.
Mm.
How about let's talk about values. Let's talk a little bit about values. Yeah. What is your advice for leaders, out there that are wanting to make an impact, right? But yet need to stay true to their values.
I recently read a book. Quite interesting. You're asking this question: leaders first, or like values first, right? Um, when I say leaders first, I mean, is it about your competencies, right? Your giftings, your abilities first,
Mhm.
or is it character first, like your values first,
Right.
right? And this book is very interesting, right? Because what a question, you know. And the book summarizes, of course, at the end, we probably all know in the ideal situation is it's always values first,
Mhm.
character first. Okay. I strongly believe in that and resonated with me is because as leaders, you know, sometimes you are definitely put in situation where, you know, your values or your character, I mean values, character, I want to use it interchangeably, are being challenged. But we should stay true to our values and our character, right? And see how we can best use it in the situation that we are in, which requires a lot of wisdom, right? To do that. Because for the lack of values and lack of character, we use our influence the wrong way to compensate for our lack of values and character. And one day that will get into us,
Mm.
right? Yeah, just like when I share examples of being able to solve issues versus being upholding integrity while solving issues, I think that's a very big difference,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
You you can always have someone to solve issues, but are you holding true to your values when you're doing it and
Yeah.
strip away of all those things one day when the road hits the rubber hits the road, you know, are you were you being were you being righteous, I mean, or in my case, were you holding integrity? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say that values are very much more important than in given a choice, given a change, leaders should always rely on their values and their character to
Yeah.
move forward, and that is a more sustainable leadership in the long run.
Yeah. So for all leaders out there, right? Do you know your set of core values, right?
Yeah.
Instinctively we will be operating on our certain values, but unconsciously, but do take time to actually like explicitly list down and what are
Yes.
the values that you are actually operating from. Yeah, have a self-awareness check-in on your
That's very important. Yeah. So build your values and character first.
mm,
Then, you know, talk about what sort of leadership you want to pursue on, right? I
yes.
think that is very important. Yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, we are totally on the same page. That's why
Mm.
in our community we advocate build character building. We talk so much about core values. Yeah. And the values and the character is the one that will hold you on whatever higher and greater responsibilities that you
True.
want to take on next, right?
Mm. So
Okay.
true.
Yeah, well done, well done. Let's keep going. Let's talk about mentorship and empowerment next. Yeah. So
Okay.
yes, empowerment and mentorship. How can mentorship inspire courage and empower future transformative leaders?
I'd like to share from a more mentee perspective, maybe
Okay.
because of I mean, maybe my age and where I am right now. I think I've received more than I mentored, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I've started to mentor people. So from a very mentee perspective, I benefited a lot from my mentors, however long, short that journey was, because of their extensive experiences and, the years that they have showed me, how valuable my time is. Because I recognize how valuable time is, or that particular season I'm at, or how special the particular situation I'm in, opportunities, I might say, really inspired me to have that courage and to create impact as much as I can in that, again, season, journey, time period, and everything. If you know what I mean. Like, a lot of people say that, oh, I wish I will experience that same opportunity again. I wish that I'll be in that same situation again. And when I was a mentee, right, like, that was that situation that I am, right? And it took a mentor to show me that, and I was like, okay, this is a valuable time that I'm at. It is now. I wouldn't say never, because it could happen again, but it is now, right? And that inspired the courage and empowered me to take responsibility in that situation, to then have the, for example, courage to bring in integrity, to speak up, to make an impact.
Yeah.
I thought if I can, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think mentors are so important. Like,
Yes.
we all had mentors in our lives, and
Yeah.
they are the ones that have the courage to highlight, our blind spots, right?
Right.
Like, point out, areas that we are like, oh no, we are like going down the wrong road, and
I mean, self-sabotaging, for
yeah,
example, right? Which is the key point. Yeah.
yeah,
So I am very appreciative of all of my mentors. They have been very real to me, and it takes courage also on their end to be very real with their mentees, with me, and to validate, you
yeah.
know. Yeah,
And sometimes, especially, if it can be challenging when it takes two to clap, right?
true. Yeah,
Yeah. So it can be challenging when one is willing to mentor, but the other is just not ready
not
to
ready to receive. Yeah,
there's a resistance to receive. So it won't work. This kind of relationship won't work. It takes two to clap.
yeah. It's interesting because it takes courage to
Yeah,
receive. You know,
as
it
well.
takes
Yes.
courage to receive. Yeah, it takes courage to receive. So again, this might be a message to people who might be resistant to receive.
Mm.
To take courage to feedback is a gift, right? To receive. Yeah, I mean, now we're on the topic of courage, right? I mean, people take courage to receive whatever that comes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, yeah, we always talk about the giving part, and then, yeah, the receiving end as well. Yeah.
Mm,
Especially, courage to receive support because of the mindset that,
yes,
receiving support is weakness. Oh,
correct.
then, yeah,
You don't
then,
want to be vulnerable, right? Yeah, correct, correct. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that good point. That good point.
Mm.
Yeah. So, how do you think like communities like our communities, whether Class Living, Women of Courage Asia, and how do you think communities like this contribute to building courageous leaders?
Mm, for class living, I think two parts,
Mm-hmm.
if I might say.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I reach the community, I think the equipping part is very valuable.
Mm.
Because for class living, I feel that in comparison to a lot of the markets out there, I'm not saying that class living don't provide the same, but a lot of the markets out there, they focus a lot on the competencies part of
Mm.
leadership, for example,
Yeah.
right? But for class living, right, there's an aspect of values and character building,
Yeah.
right? I think that is really so underspoken, right? I mean, how many times we attend these 1, 2 seminars and they actually go very deep on these conversations, right? But I think they're so important, to understand your sphere of influence, for example. How do you integrate values in it? How do you build your own character first? How do you even be self-aware? How do you even have the courage to receive or to give without having to feel like, oh, am I giving too much? That kind of thing, right? And it's a very internal perspective that we have to resolve in a safe space.
Yes.
So, safe space. Now, that's the second part of class living that I want to mention, right? So, they do have a community, then supports this whole ecosystem on building your values and character,
Mm.
right? You need to be in a safe space where everybody feels the same about it, so that we can actually, while talking about our leadership style and where we're at,
Mhm.
it's a safe space for us to grow from there,
Yeah.
right? everyone's values are different, right?
Right.
So that's why I feel that communities like class living do contribute, to those people, that to foster courage to strive for impact, courage in the right way, right? Your values,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Sarah, you can be a spokesperson and an ambassador for class living.
This is actually an interview for.
Just articulate, what we are trying to do, what we are advocating. Thank you so much for saying,
No, 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 but I truly feel that this is the vision mission of class living
yeah,
and the
thank
impact that they
you.
are doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Yes. Let's continue to advocate and build and empower women in our communities. Yeah. And I really also appreciate you, since I mean, when you first came, you were so young. You were the youngest among us, right? You're always the little girl among us. And yeah,
yeah,
look where you are right now. You're going to be a mom.
mother. From single to married to now becoming a mother. Yes, what
Yeah.
a journey.
What
Yes, yes,
a
yes.
journey. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's move on to the summit.
Okay.
And yeah, what motivated you to like participate in this year's summit? What does the summit means to you?
I mean, I've been with the community for a while, and every year we have this summit, right? Is it 3 years now? I think only 3 years, right?
Yeah, next year will be the third year. This year,
Yeah.
second year. Yeah,
Yes.
last year
Okay.
was Ignite the Courage, right? This year
Yes,
will
yes,
be
yes.
Foster the
Because
Courage.
I always confused with the anniversary.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
yes,
together
correct.
now.
Yes. So, um, I think bringing forward to whatever that we have discussed so far, likewise the conferences or even this summit that I mean the community is building is very much of what we have shared,
Yeah.
right? Courage is but one of the values under class living.
Mm.
And it's the very beginning of all things, right? And if you're looking for, a community where you can build whatever we have shared, you know, your values, character in a safe space, and also have, very applicable tips in building your own career or business. I think this summit is a place that you can be,
Yeah.
right? Whenever I go for conferences or summits, especially for Her Courage Summit, right? Sometimes it's not really about what we can take away in the talk,
Mm.
right? But it's really the community that we want to focus on,
Yeah.
right? And I realize that our learning sometimes, if you know there's this a 70-20-10 model of learning, right?
Mm.
Going for conferences, okay, maximum is like 10% or 20% of the learning model. Okay? But you actually learn more from the people that you are with, the mentorship, okay?
Yes.
And also with the people that you actually work with, like you apply these tips,
Yeah.
right? So that becomes the importance of joining this summit, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So well said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are making a lot of effort, putting a lot of effort in bringing the different thought leaders, the
Yeah.
different women leaders in different sphere of influence to come together, to the two different panels we are very appreciative of the leaders, and some are even flying in to Singapore just to support us, right?
Yeah.
So really it's the people, like you said, come meet the mentors, the leaders, even the judges, right?
Yeah.
They are here to support and to contribute and share their experiences and their wisdom. So it's an opportunity, to
And meet the people that are coming, right?
yes, and the people that come,
Yeah.
of course, business opportunity, business matching opportunities,
Yeah.
but like you said, building relationships, knowing a community, finding your tribe, finding a
Yeah.
community that talks about courage. When you step into our community, right, you basically just step into the atmosphere of courage. You can't help
Yeah.
but have to be courageous.
Yes, you have to reach out. You have to know people, at least three friends. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
do join, right? I think looking forward, to the summit. Very much want to be there. Um, yeah, and really encourage everyone who is have a chance to listen to any one of the podcasts, not just mine. To really join the space. Yeah. When is it again? The date we should
yeah,
highlight the
April.
sorry 5th of April. Yes, yes,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
The tickets are early birds. tickets are already out. So do grab your tickets at hercourageleaders.com. Yeah. So okay, let's bring this to the landing. Let's have a little bit of discussion about the nominees, right? The award nominees, those who are receiving the awards, because we want to shine the spotlight on all the unsung heroines, right? And yourself and the rest of the leaders, there are also you ladies have inspiring stories that needs to be out there where everyone can be inspired. Yeah, there are so many people out there that are struggling, and when they get to hear your story, when they get to know you,
Yeah.
they will be inspired and contagious, right? So for the nominees out there so talking about nominees, okay, I jump a bit, do a bit of shout out.
No problem.
Yes, nominate the women in your lives that you can
Yes.
see that are so inspiring. They're doing great works. Nominate them, because they will go through a panel of judges. The judges are very nice people, but they will select. Yeah, but just submit and just nominate. All right, we want to hear more of the inspiring stories out there. And yeah. So, what advice would you give, Sarah, to the award nominees as they prepare themselves to take the stage and even share their stories?
I wouldn't say advice, but because like obviously I really highlighted I'm the youngest of no, but I okay, I mean it's not about age, right? But I wouldn't say advice, but I really want to encourage them, right? To be proud of their journey and the courage that it took to
Mm,
even come to this place, right? That they're at wherever they are. I mean not just being an award nominee, but being an award nominee means it shows a lot about their journey and the season of their life, correct? Um and that their stories are powerful, right? And that they have the ability to inspire others just by being authentically them,
yes.
right? That they did because by joining this and reaching this space here, it wasn't about us showing our trophies or being the best version of ourselves. In fact, it was the reverse, right? I mean, Lilian would know, right? It's about really showing the vulnerable parts of our stories or
Yes.
what made us here today,
Yeah.
and being that authentic person. And that's how the impact came about, right? And that's how we got to today. And I believe that, any one of us who was going to this, we would definitely share the same, that over the past, I mean, for me, it's 5 years, right? 5 years, you know, um, how much we have journeyed by being more authentically ourselves, right?
Yeah.
To hear their stories and to share our own as well. And I think that will be the encouragement or advice, I guess, that I like to share with the nominees. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Mhm.
Now, before I bring this to a close, what is one last word that you want to share with the audience out there?
One last word.
Yeah.
Um,
Any
since we are talking a lot about it, I really want to encourage, our audience to find out what they truly stand for.
Mm,
Yeah. Take the courage to find out what you truly stand for,
mm,
be it you call it values, character, or your beliefs. I
mm.
think that's very important. Yeah,
Yeah.
before you pursue the external rewards, I guess, of leadership. Yeah,
Right.
and join us. you know,
Yeah.
join
Join
us.
us.
Most important, join us. Yes, yes. Here we talk a lot about that. Yeah.
Okay, if you have found inspiration, in today's episode with Sarah, I encourage you to start taking action. All right, just step out of your comfort zone. Embrace these new opportunities, create new opportunities, right? Or even support a cause, a social cause like what we are doing here. So come join us, and together we can drive a positive change, right? And also stay connected with us, right? By simply, first thing first, subscribe, share, and leave a review in this episode. And if you want to connect with Sarah, you can check out the links that we're going to place in this episode's description. So do connect with her. She's a very jovial, happy person. Yeah. So do connect with her. Now,
Yeah.
this has been another powerful episode of the Summit series on Voices of Courage Asia, where we inspire courage for transformative impact. So, until next time, keep leading with courage and making a difference in the world. We'll see you at the summit. Bye.